Hey everyone, this last week I had the opportunity to do a presentation with a small group of emerging young adults. In that, I shared about getting curious. Okay, so I talked about getting to your wise mind. I had them think about a conversation that they had that maybe didn't go well. And then I talked about how you probably went more emotional or more logical when it started going awry instead of staying in that wise mind. And I talked about some ways to get curious, which we've talked about numerous times in here, and talked about using the statement, tell me more when you're getting more curious. Today's episode, Rosemary's hearing this for the first time, just like you. We are going to talk about a text I received from one of the moms of one of the almost young adult. These kids are like 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. And she just gave me some really great feedback and insight that I wanted to bring to Rose and to talk with all of you about.
I'm nervous. I don't know why. I'm like, where's this going? I mean,
Right.
it's not going anywhere bad by any means, but my
No,
brain
it's
is like, what's
not.
happening? We're unprepared.
Welcome to Communication Skills for Working Women. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Rose May. Do you find yourself second guessing or avoiding conversations because you're worried about being misunderstood?
You're not alone. On this show, we're sharing tangible tools for assertiveness, emotional resilience, and real life communication wins and fails.
Let's sharpen our communication together.
This text, this is what I really want to talk about. She said, we are so accustomed, increasingly more in such a divided culture, in making blanket statements with no real substance to back up those statements. When we ask people to explain more, it gives them an opportunity to do so. However, if they don't have anything to back up their statement, that question just makes them angry. But
Fact.
then, right?
Yeah.
She said, but then it calms me down because I began to see through their statements and come to a better understanding that there is no substance there. I'm
Oh,
I'm also then better able to see that the person is speaking in pain
uh,
because we only make statements like that out of anger when we are broken and hurting.
damn. I mean,
This is Rose and I
sorry,
full
sorry,
conversation.
sorry. Okay, sorry. I mean, wow.
Let's just break down this text. She says, we are so accustomed increasingly more in such a divided culture in making blanket statements.
Okay, somebody was saying something that was very blanket.
With no
A
real,
very generalized statement. This is very interesting.
right, with no real substance to back up those statements.
Mm.
It made me reflect too, like, where am I consuming my information? What things, there's a book called Blind Spot that I was just at a basketball game the other day, kind of like taking a step back and considering my blind spots. Blind spots, it's just like we create realities to make sense of our world and we are missing things all the time. That's what this
Mhm.
book, that's a very high summary of this book. The author would probably be insulted that that was my summary. Would you add anything to that, Rose?
No, that's yeah, unless you want to really get into it, which we
Right.
probably don't right now. Maybe that's another episode, but
Yes.
actually, yes.
It's a great book. You're going to read the first like 4 pages and be like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
make horrible assumptions all the time. I think because partially like living in the information age, consuming so many things all of the time, we do make blanket statements with no real substance to back it up. And then when we ask people to explain more, it gives them an opportunity to do so.
Mhm.
However, if they don't have anything to back up their statement, that question just makes them angry. I wish you guys could see Rose's face. To me, it sounds like then that person might be feeling attacked.
Mhm.
So they are getting angry because they're getting defensive because you're revealing a vulnerability to them.
Totally.
You're questioning their intellect. I
Yeah.
mean, when you're not, you're just being curious.
Right.
These are things to consider when someone doesn't respond to tell me more in a positive way.
Yeah, and I guess too, like now that like as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I guess it really depends on how you ask, tell me more, or like the even the tone in your voice or like body language, right? I think all of that could come into play when you're saying tell me more, especially if someone doesn't have maybe anything to substantiate their argument or their statements with. So that kind of makes sense.
And
Yeah.
I've been even asked before, like, tell me more, kind of like in a sarcastic way
Right.
by someone who I didn't like, I struggled with. And I shut down, like reflecting on that scenario. I'm like, there have been times I haven't responded well. And you're right, it was more of how it was asked. But let's just say it is asked in a really like genuine, curious way where someone's like, oh, like tell me more. I want to understand more. Tell me more. And you get that
Yeah.
negative response.
Well, I think even like what you just said, tell me more. I want to understand more, right? Like that sounds very inviting. Um, but if you don't have any way to describe how you are feeling, maybe the language, or you don't have, I don't know, like you don't have the facts, then I could see how that would feel. Yeah, very much. That would put you in a defensive state, right? Your threat system would be activated and you would become very defensive. This is so, my mind still has to wrap its mind around like this tell me more and it being something that is taken not offensively is the word, but that creates that threat for someone because I use it so frequently in therapy too, right? So it's not my experience to use this in a negative way either. So my mind is still trying to wrap itself around this experience that this woman is having.
I love that you just mentioned like that someone experienced a threat because somehow this statement dysregulated
Oh
that
yeah.
person. Because even if you are divided and you are making like you have these like opinions and you are making just this blanket statement and you maybe don't have the info to back it up, and if someone says tell me more and you don't have the info to back it up, you'll be like, well, I read it on this or I,
Right.
whatever. But if you
Right.
have gotten like flipped into fight, flight, or freeze, or you are just really like you've just suddenly become completely dysregulated, like anger is the response
Yeah.
because it's the keep me alive response to
Or or
uh,
or that's your fight system, right? Your fight system, like getting in there and fighting it out. Oh, you want to challenge me?
yeah.
Yeah, like, or, oh, your challenge is a threat to me.
So how do you respond when you are just trying to get curious? Because I would have to say, like, this is something I have to work on all the time. My tone, I can be very just kind of like aggressive, and I don't mean to be aggressive. And so I could see me, myself, saying, like, tell me more, and it coming across like not well. So,
Yeah.
like, how would I, or like, what's some like skills or advice you would give to someone who's like in your therapy office and being like, I'm trying to talk, but I'm still getting this negative response all the time. Like, what are some things I could try to like help? Not because I'm not responsible for that other person, but how, like,
No.
I say I've said, tell me more, and they immediately become dysregulated.
Yeah. I think so. If I saw this in therapy, and I actually think that this could be used out in I don't think this is limited to the therapy room. I would probably say something along the lines like, I'm just noticing your body doing this, or I'm noticing your tone doing this, or it sounds like blah, blah, blah. Am I reading that right? Sounds like it sounds like, you kind of got defensive. Am I reading that right? Like, I'm just wondering, what was it about how I asked that question or what I said that maybe is feeling uncomfortable for you or feeling however you want to describe it, whatever, right? So I would just go in there and like, yeah, address that. Like just what I'm noticing, right? So starting off by saying what I'm noticing, and then if I'm really curious about how they're doing and I care, I would say something along those lines.
Yeah, that's great. And as you were sharing, I'm thinking about being the dysregulated person because
Mhm.
I have also lived a lot of years feeling very dysregulated and threatened in conversations and in
Yeah.
life. And sometimes in those moments, like I'm dysregulated and I don't even know why I'm dysregulated. And for
Mm,
many years, I didn't even know I was dysregulated. I just knew I was
mm,
ticked off
mm.
all of a sudden. When you were giving those examples, one thing you said kind of like, I was like, I wouldn't have been able to answer that because I'm dysregulated.
Ah, huh.
But a thought that came to my mind was if someone said to me, I can tell this is really important to you and I want to know more when you're comfortable sharing,
Mm,
that would probably pull me out of
right.
my defensiveness and dysregulation because I would
Yeah.
be validated and given the space,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
respect to that. And so, but that takes a lot when you're in that conversation and you're genuinely wanting to learn more. Someone just responded to you in an angry, probably feeling aggressive way,
Yeah.
to be able to say, oh, I can tell this is important to you.
Yeah.
I'd love to
Yeah.
get, but this is just making me think about things in so many different ways because I feel like I really resonate with both sides of this potentially.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, I don't know what's sad is like I have rarely been in a situation when anyone's asked me like to tell them more, which is sad actually now that I think about it.
Tell me more, Rose. How do you feel about that?
I feel sad that no one's ever asked, said, like, tell me more. Like, when I'm talking about something that's important to me, it's often just dismissed. And I think, and maybe it has something to do, like, as I'm trying to be reflective, maybe it has something to do with the passion with which I speak, or maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm giving off certain, bu- like, nonverbal cues or whatever. But I've never had anyone say, like, that sounds important to you, or oh, I've never thought about this. Tell me more about that. I've never had anyone do that. That makes me sad. I'll be fine. But I'm just saying, like, that makes me sad that
Hey,
like that no one's ever asked me in that way.
I
I think because it's uncomfortable. I think it's uncomfortable,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so and I think you have to be comfortable with enough with yourself to be able to ask someone or to say like, I can tell this is important to you. Like, yeah. And so maybe that's where it comes from, maybe a place of feeling uncomfortable with feelings.
right. Well, and even just
So,
like levels of listening, like how engaged is the person? Are they just trying, like,
right.
there's so many things. I kind of wish Meredith is this woman that shared this with us. I wish she was on here right now because like there's so much from this what she's sharing that we just don't have context around this conversation, right? Like, we don't know
Yeah,
what they were talking about. Was this a political issue? Is this a familial issue? Is this
totally.
like we don't know what the relationship was? We don't know
Right.
anything. There's just so much to uncover, and I just keep thinking about like our framework that we walk through all the time, and I'm like, what was the goal or objective of this conversation, and what are those hidden things that we just stay so tied to when we are
Mhm.
communicating that sometimes stand in our way. So I loved how she said, however, if they don't have anything to back up their statements, that question just makes them angry. But then it calms me down because I begin to see through their statements and to come to better understand that there is no substance there.
Mm, I like that
I
actually.
love that. I love that like she was able to just like see things for what they were
Right.
and take it
Right.
for what that was and like, oh, like she gained a greater understanding. So I would even say like even though it didn't like result in this great conversation, she
Mhm.
probably still gained what she needed to from using that statement. Tell me more. Tell me
For
more.
sure.
Tell me more.
For sure.
And then she says, I'm also then better able to see that the person speaking is in pain because we only use statements like that out of anger when we are
Mhm.
broken and hurting. That is so true.
Yep.
We, because we are just trying to hold on to something or belong
Yep.
to something or control something.
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are, we all do it.
Yep.
Every single one of us does that to some degree somewhere in our lives.
Yep.
To have someone compassionately see that is really a gift for both you and them.
I'm kind of like I want to know how this ended. How did this conversation end?
I have no idea. I received this text. I want to maybe we'll call her up and have her on, have her tell us more about this.
Yeah, because that's really, really interesting to me.
Right? I
Yeah.
know. This is Rose and I just real time talking about how some of the things we've talked about on the podcast have impacted other people, and then the things that we continue to talk about and debrief and understand ourselves. So, anything you want to close out with, Rose?
I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to think about this for a little while. My brain is still, it's playing this experience out in my mind and like I can tell my brain is breaking it down like even farther. And so I guess anything that I want to close out with would be just like, and just be willing to listen to people, right? I think that's like regulate your emotions enough that you can listen to people, and either one, you'll strengthen a relationship, or two, you'll strengthen your relationship with yourself, your confidence with yourself, within yourself, and your confidence with probably, it sounds like, your stance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. And make sure to leave a review if you like this or share this podcast with a friend.
Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely. When you feel confident in your communication, everything changes.
We'd love to hear your wins, failures, and insights on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women. Leave a review and connect with us.
Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.